India just opened a port so deep, ships 4 football fields long can dock without a single shovel of dredging. It's called Vizhinjam, and it just ended a 75-year problem that was costing India billions. Picture a giant supermarket warehouse. Every day, trucks show up loaded with boxes headed to different cities. But this warehouse has a strange rule. Before any truck can leave for its final destination, it first has to drive to a neighbor's warehouse across town, unload everything, sort it, and reload it onto a different truck. That extra trip costs time, money, and fuel every single day. That is basically what happened to India's trade for decades. India has one of the longest coastlines in the world, over 7,500 kilometers of it. It ships everything from textiles to electronics to spices across the globe. But here is the catch. Most of India's ports are shallow. They were built for smaller ships, the kind that carry a few thousand containers. The newest generation of cargo ships is enormous, capable of carrying over 20,000 containers at once. These giants need deep water, sometimes close to 20 meters, just to avoid scraping the ocean floor. India simply did not have a port deep enough, positioned close enough to the main shipping lanes, to handle these massive vessels regularly. So what happened? The giant ships would sail right past India and stop at Colombo port in Sri Lanka instead. Indian cargo would then get loaded onto smaller ships, sailed over to Colombo, unloaded, sorted, and reloaded onto the big international vessels there. This process is called transshipment, and it is like paying a toll just to use your own driveway. Industry estimates put the share of India's transshipment cargo routed through Colombo anywhere from 60 to 75%, depending on the year and the report. Every one of those transfers cost India money in fees, added days to shipping times, and handed foreign ports the jobs and revenue that should have stayed home. Indian officials had talked about fixing this for decades. The idea for a deep water port at Vizhinjam, a small fishing town in Kerala, first appeared in government plans back in the 1990s, but building it was another story entirely. Not every stretch of coastline can host a megaport. Vizhinjam had something almost no other place in India could offer. Just off its shore, the ocean floor drops to a natural depth of 24 meters without any need for heavy dredging. Most ports have to spend years and hundreds of millions of dollars scraping and hauling sand off the seabed to create that kind of depth. Vizhinjam already had it, carved out by nature. On top of that, Vizhinjam sits only about 10 nautical miles from one of the busiest shipping corridors on the planet, the east-west route that connects Europe, the Middle East, and the Far East through the Suez Canal. Think of it like building a rest stop right next to a highway that millions of trucks already drive on every year, instead of building it 3 hours down a side road and hoping trucks make the detour. This location put Vizhinjam in direct competition with some of the biggest transshipment hubs in the world. Ports like Colombo in Sri Lanka, Salalah in Oman, Jebel Ali in Dubai, and even Singapore. For the first time, India had a genuine shot at pulling that business back home. Building a megaport sounds exciting on paper. Building one at Vizhinjam turned into a fight against nature, budgets, and years of delay. The project was signed off in 2015 as a partnership between the Kerala state government and Adani Ports, under a deal where Adani would build and run the port for 40 years. Construction was supposed to take about 4 years. It ended up taking closer to 10. The ocean did not cooperate. Kerala's coast gets hit by monsoon storms that whip up massive waves, and construction was hit by cyclone damage that tore apart sections of the port's unfinished breakwater, the massive wall of rock and concrete designed to protect ships inside the harbour from rough seas. Years of work had to be redone. That breakwater alone is a feat worth pausing on. It stretches 3.1 kilometers into the sea, built to eventually reach 4.5 kilometers once all phases are complete. It rises 7.5 meters above the waterline and plunges 22 meters below it. Essentially, an underwater and above-water wall, long enough to stretch across a small city, built rock by rock to survive some of the roughest seas on India's coast. Local fishing communities also raised concerns, worried the port would damage coastal ecosystems and their livelihoods. Protests slowed construction further. Costs climbed. What started as a smaller estimated project eventually grew into an investment north of 8,900 crore rupees, close to $1.1 billion, once you account for all phases and supporting infrastructure. But piece by piece, the port took shape. Massive cranes were installed, including a ship-to-shore crane with a reach of 72 meters and a lifting height of 74 meters, tall enough to service the largest ships afloat and reported as the tallest crane of its kind in India. Quick pause here. If you're enjoying this one, These documentaries take a lot of hours to research, write, and put together. If you want to help support the channel, there's a small donation link in the description or the pinned comment. No pressure at all, just something that genuinely helps if you're able. Okay, back to the story. In July 2024, the first container ship, the San Fernando, quietly docked at Vizhinjam for trial operations. There was no fanfare yet, just a test of whether the port could actually do what it promised. By December 2024, commercial operations officially began. Then, on the 2nd of May, 2025, Prime Minister Narendra Modi formally inaugurated the port in front of a large crowd, dedicating what officials called the Vizhinjam International Deepwater Multipurpose Seaport to the nation. The real proof came a few weeks later. The MSC Irina sailed in, one of the largest container ships ever built, capable of carrying over 24,000 containers. It measured nearly 400 meters long and 61 meters wide, roughly the length of 4 football fields laid end to end. Watching a ship that size glide into an Indian port for the first time was the moment engineers, officials, and local fishermen alike had been waiting years to see. The results came fast. In just February and March 2025 alone, Vizhinjam handled over 186,000 containers across 91 ships, well beyond what planners had expected for that stage. By mid-2025, the port had processed hundreds of vessels and hundreds of thousands of containers total. The port also became a symbol of something else. It runs on a mostly automated system, with remote-controlled cranes and an AI-powered vessel traffic management system built in India. And in a country where port work has long been dominated by men, Vizhinjam trained a team of women to operate its automated crane systems, a first for an Indian port. Vizhinjam can handle about 1 million containers a year in its first phase. That might sound like a lot, but it is only the opening chapter. In November 2024, the Kerala government signed an agreement with Adani to speed up construction of the next 2 phases, pushing the full completion date from a distant 2045 all the way up to 2028. Once phases 2 and 3 are finished, the port's capacity is expected to triple, reaching somewhere between 3 and 3.3 million containers a year, putting it in serious competition with the biggest transshipment hubs in the region. Plans also call for a rail connection to the port that would run through one of India's longest tunnels, plus a 20-acre cruise terminal designed to turn Vizhinjam into a stop for international cruise ships, not just cargo vessels. Officials expect the completed project to generate around 5,500 direct jobs, with thousands more created indirectly across shipping, logistics, and tourism in the region. For India, the bigger picture goes beyond one port in Kerala. If Vizhinjam succeeds at pulling transshipment traffic away from Colombo, it does not just save money. It gives India a level of control over its own trade routes that it has never really had, at a moment when global shipping lanes are becoming one of the most contested pieces of real estate on Earth. And if you made it this far, thank you. These documentaries take a lot of time to research, write, and produce. If you enjoy this kind of content and want to help support the channel, you can make a small donation through the first link in the description or the pinned comment. No pressure at all, but every bit genuinely helps keep more videos like this coming. But here is the question nobody in Kerala wants to say out loud just yet. Colombo did not become one of the busiest transshipment ports on the planet by accident. It has multiple years of infrastructure, established shipping relationships, and a head start that is not going to disappear overnight. Sri Lanka is already responding, expanding its own port capacity to defend its position. So the real fight is just beginning. Can a brand new port, still finishing construction, actually convince the world's biggest shipping lines to change their routes for good? Or will Vizhinjam become just another expensive monument, built for a future that chooses to dock somewhere else? One thing is certain. Somewhere in the waters off Kerala right now, a ship carrying thousands of containers is deciding the answer. And if you want to see what else India has been quietly building, check out the video on screen right now. India just opened the widest road tunnel on Earth, and the engineering behind it is just as wild as this port. Tap it, and I'll see you on the other side.